What's up, everyone? We are back with the second half pass protection film review from Kingsley. If you haven't checked out part one, some really informative stuff. Obviously there were a couple bad reps, but some really good ones as well. And to me, the most important thing, I think pretty much everything is correctable. We saw some losses, we saw some of those bad plays, but that's just, a technique issue. We saw that good technique used throughout the rest of the half. So really encouraging start for him, and let's see if he settles down in the second half and locks in a little bit. So first play, let's run it for you in full speed. All right, nice little completion there, and let's go back. So really good pass protection. Again, shotgun, running back in the backfield. Looks like the running back's out pretty quick, so an empty protection play. Now the slide's coming his way, but a good rep. He takes a nice set, a little bit of an angle, a little bit of depth, throwing that left hand, right hand coming under a little bit. We see that's his preferred, it seems like, pass pro technique. And 99 is trying to chop that outside hand, doing something with it, but Kingsley's got good balance. Now, again, you can see a little bit leaned, not too bad. It could be influenced by 99, chopping it down a little bit, but what's really nice is here. I mean, he's able to kind of come back, get under control, get to leverage, and now ball starts on the right hash, and looks like Pat's first read maybe isn't there, or he's pump faking, he's drifting a little bit, and still just no pressure at all. Kingsley's got his guy pretty much still at the other hash. A really nice way to start the second half. Nice completion for the Chiefs as well. Next play, going against Van Noy. Let it run. All right, coming back. As you can see, good protection. Again, similar set. A little bit more vertical this time, which is good awareness because 92, the defensive tackle, is pretty much aligned on him, not even as a wide 3 technique, pretty much a 4 technique. So he's got a little bit of presence of mind to, constrict that space a little. They could be running a game, a TE, where 92 is coming upfield, 53 is looping around. And even though you got center help, you don't necessarily want to just completely bail on that. So a really nice set, smart set, empty protection. There's no backs in the backfield, so it's obviously going to be a pass. And just a nice pass pro rep. Takes a good set, uses the hands, kind of squares up Van Noy right there, working for leverage. Not giving him the edge and also taking away any counter because Pat is a little bit shorter on this one. As we talked about, sometimes those empty protection plays are a little bit quicker. So another great rep. Next play, going against 90. What turns into, again, another empty protection play, but it's a screen and a nice play for the Chiefs. So let's dive into this. So offensive tackle wise, this does end up being a tight end screen. You're just blocking pretty normal. There's a slight chance the quarterback might be a little deeper. But on these kind of screens, quarterback's not going to be as deep as maybe a running back screen where they keep drifting and drifting. And Pat's doing his best to kind of sell to the defense that something else might be going on. But from Kingsley's perspective, he's got his guy one-on-one. He's got to lock him down. The guards and centers are required to do some things on screen, so you have no help. So he's taking a good set. Left hand goes, gets the head in there a little bit. Maybe right there you would say not the greatest contact point, but then immediately after, right there, beautiful. Leverage, working the hands. You can see Kingsley's right arm being, we call that a Hamilton, where it's getting lifted up, and he's breaking it. He's going up and away and coming back inside with it, or trying to at least, and that's excellent technique from a rookie. This is something that we drill a lot because these defensive linemen are getting good at that. And to have that kind of reaction that quickly you can break it and be trying to work for leverage, again, really, really promising and a nice rep from him, and then trying to finish up the field as well. All right, next play, new drive. Looks like a little bit of a kind of third downish look with the defensive alignment. You've got 90 standing up over the right guard walking around. You got Roquan and the B gap there next to Kingsley. Going against 99. Just pass blocking, pass setting. And again, we see that nice set. He's under control. He's getting to the contact spot pretty good. You could argue when he throws that left hand, maybe his left foot comes back a little. But all in all, he's making good contact right there, targeting the outside hand. That right hand is coming to the near point as well, and he's able to, fend off a little bit of outside hand moves, He's working for leverage. Now this one, 99, does get into the body just a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, Pat's somewhat faking a handoff, taking his time, throwing it, and the guy is still, nowhere near him. So this is another pretty good rep. You just like in a perfect world right there to get those hands inside, which kind of just, swallows him up there. But, another really good play from Kingsley. Next play, empty protection, and obviously he gets the outside hand beat right there. So empty protection, got the slide coming his way, but as we've learned, not super important. But he is using a little bit more width than he would be if he didn't have the center coming. So he's taking that set, really good positioning, throwing the left hand, which we love. And this time 99 does a stab and a chop. And he gets the corner immediately. So this would be, a pretty clean loss for the offensive tackle. And this is the only thing, we talked about in the first video. We talked about a little bit in the second one is when he's throwing that hand, making sure that that butt's not going back, making sure that he doesn't have too much of his weight forward. Because timing-wise, the timing looks to be pretty good. It looks like he is maybe making contact. It's just immediately getting chopped. And 99 is also doing a good job with the left arm of trying to grab and pull you can see right there, pull the cloth, and that accentuates, Kingsley falling forward, even though I'd say he's probably already fallen forward a little bit from the chop. But in a perfect world, you wouldn't necessarily want to have enough weight forward or for that left arm to be too rigid, where when it is chopped, you fall forward. There's this fine balance of offensive line play where you have to punch, you have to be strong, but if you're punching too hard, if you're punching, too rigid, your body also gets tense and stuff like that can happen. So all in all, the ball's gone. It's not technically, a hit or a pressure because the ball's out so fast, but this is, a clean loss of the contact point and rusher gets the edge. So correctable, again, like we talked about, pretty much all these things are correctable from him. So let's move on to the next play. We've got a little bit of a running back screen here. Nice play for the Chiefs. Let's go back and look at Kingsley. Now, again, these screens are tricky for the offensive tackles. When you're not on the screen side, so the screen's to the right, it's almost harder, as the opposite tackle, because if you're on the screen side, you can just do whatever you need to do. Juwan's oversetting and kind of invites the spin move on the right side, 90 spins inside, takes himself out of the play. When you're on the backside, you have to make sure your defensive end doesn't beat you inside because then he can chase the play. And also make sure that as the quarterback drifts up the pocket and tries to buy time and allow rushers to come to him, you don't give up the top side of the pocket. So it's a bit of a fine, delicate dance. And you can see, compared to that last play, Kingsley's not throwing that left arm. He does get chopped. The weight does go forward, but the balance is great. The leverage is great. Gets to a good spot. It makes me wonder, because he got beat throwing the left hand earlier, is he not throwing it on this next play? And we saw that in the first video, potentially, gets beat by the spin move early by Van Noy. A couple of plays later, isn't using the hands quite as well. Just something to consider, offensive line-wise. Once you get beat with something, it's hard to go right back to it and trust it. We are seeing that a little bit from Kingsley, but another, really solid rep from him. Next play, more empty protection. A lot of empty from the Chiefs. Kind of a funky rush by the guy there. Goes for the spin. It's hard for me to say. I'm guessing it's a fake spin because he's already backing out of it right there. Not something you see very often. Not something that is super effective. There's the DeMarcus Ware clip on Joe Staley from years ago. I will always contend that DeMarcus Ware was not intending to fake spin. I think his spin got caught and he just kind of spun out of it and ended up beating Staley. And I think this is a move that in practice and one-on-one pass rush, guys can, from the defense line perspective, can beat offensive tackles. I just don't think it's a super repeatable move in live action. So Kingsley's in a good spot, using his hands. Again, weight's going a little bit forward. That'll be corrected over time. Catches the move wonderfully. Almost gets 99 to the ground, and gets him to about 10 yards where, the quarterback would have been in the pocket. So, all in all, again, I'd say a win for Kingsley there, and a pretty good use of his pass pro techniques, his leverage, his body positioning. Next play, this is a quick one. what could have been. And you got a no center help. And so you're blocking, 0 and 90 as they're coming. And I think pretty good awareness here from Kingsley. I mean, whether he's seeing the guy outside of him, whether he's feeling it, he's kind of undersetting or setting 90 properly, knowing he might be going inside, feeling a little bit of outside pressure. It'd be really easy for an offensive tackle, especially in his first start, to be setting and, setting for depth, especially if you've gotten beat around the edge a couple times. But taking a good set, smart, 90 probably should be rushing inside. You don't necessarily want to have two guys in the outside gap as the defense. But Kingsley's in the right spot. Again, a little bit top heavy, maybe a little bit late with the hands. But he would have been fine if the ball was held on to. Next play, back to under center, but running back's in motion. And now this looks like a little bit of a quicker drop, and Pat just making things happen. But going back to it, Kingsley on the left side, 3-point stance, taking a pass set, pretty much unheard of these days. And we've got 83 there. We talked in the first video about looking at lineman stances. This defensive end, a little bit of a kind of rush up field stance. I wouldn't say that's a square stance, and I wouldn't say it's a true jet up field stance, but a little bit in between. There's going to be a bit of space created by, your tight end 83 there. Travis is hovering around. He likes to chip people. He likes to help out. So the defensive end's probably not going to be screaming up the field. And he's able to get on the rusher, throw his hands, fight for leverage. I mean, this is what you want to see, a really clean rep and a clean victory. Okay, next play. Shotgun, again, empty protection. We're seeing a lot of empty protection tonight. What we haven't really seen yet is any chips. So, offensive line-wise, coaches are trusting them. Another important fact on where the Chiefs believe Kingsley's development is. So, running back goes in motion. This one looks like Kingsley gets out of the stance nicely. We talked a couple times, maybe slightly late, but he and Juwan are timing it at the same time. They're getting off. And that just allows you to get to that spot. I mean, he's 2 kicks, not even big kicks. He's already where he needs to be. Nice and calm, collected. Left hand goes inside. Again, we see 99 trying to, work that. And this is one where, as we play at full speed, gives up that corner. You could argue this one either way. Ball's, pretty much on the yardage line there. Contact point, 99 probably wins that. Not an initial victory like we saw a few reps ago, but, relatively victorious after the initial contact. Gets the corner, feeder at 9.5 yards. Pat's holding onto the ball just a little bit, nothing crazy. If he holds on to it another beat, is he going to take a sack? Is he going to get hit? Yes. So this one just kind of comes down to what are you expecting of your offensive tackles. I don't think Pat's too deep in the pocket. He's not, drifting. He's not holding on to it unnecessarily. You'd probably want your left tackle to protect the top of the pocket just a little better, not be in that body position. And again, just gets back to what's happening when he's punching. You can see on the initial punch, that left leg tends to go back as he's punching. And I think maybe that leads to the disconnect between the upper body having a little bit too much weight and the butt going back, that, that left leg isn't necessarily in the ground on contact. But either way, this is kind of the theme of the night, outside pressure when it is happening, being a little bit top heavy, getting that outside hand collapsed, giving up the top of the pocket, and what could have been a touchdown. So all is forgiven. It's a touchdown. Rookie, 2 touchdowns. What a performance. Next play, let's see what we got here. Screen to the right. Looks like the defensive ends are starting to jump it a little bit now. Kingsley's getting out of a stance, maybe slightly behind. That flip right there usually tells you as an offensive lineman that you're feeling a little bit behind. And you can see from the full speed perspective, maybe feels like he's a little bit behind. It is a screen, the ball's out. He's kind of getting to the spot. And you can see when he does, flip his hips, you're just not in a position where you feel like you can throw the left hand because the guy's so far up the field. So you do end up throwing that inside hand and kind of just bear hugs him and holds on there. Kind of a throwaway rep from my perspective. I'm not really getting too much out of this. Doesn't really say much about him. So let's move on to the next one, which looks like it's the last one. Obviously, Chiefs being up in this one didn't need to throw the ball quite as much. And again, a really nice job. We saw this in the first half where he's getting an inside stunt and he's able to square it off really well. Center does look like he's working that way, so Tooney is able to pass off his 3 technique and be there to solidify things. But from Kingsley's perspective, slide's coming his way, but he's not oversetting. He's seeing that little head fake. He's already squaring things off. Really good vision, really good awareness. Staying square, catching him with the right arm. He and Tooney are wadding it up, staying square. And then as the looper comes around, he's also not flying out there. You know, we see some tackles, some linemen. When that looper's coming around, you get so excited to get on him that you jump out, and it would theoretically allow him to work back inside. Pacheco's giving a nice little doink there. But this is, I mean, pretty clinic tape from the left tackle in terms of taking a nice set, being under control, squaring off the rusher, passing it off with your guard, staying under control, and taking the looper. So yeah, this is, you know, the last rep that we got at Kingsley. You can see the second half definitely settled down a little bit. You know, was able to stick to his technique a little bit more, which we've seen on those pass plays. Likes to throw the left hand, the outside hand, which is a technique, you know, I really like. I think it's a great technique. He's able to, you know, work to leverage late. You know, that right hand's coming inside. A few times guys do get to his chest. He does look like he's looking for leverage as well. You know, we saw him breaking that Hamilton, you know, hands outside and away to break it. So yeah, I mean, he's showing everything. You know, all the times he was beat, I'd say correctable technique things. He's going to get better with that over time. You know, as a young guy, you're going to keep developing lower body strength, core strength, flexibility. Allows you to sit down a little bit more. You know, not be quite as top heavy. So a really, you know, encouraging debut. First half a little bit rougher. Second half better, which is also an encouraging sign that he's learning from mistakes and he's not panicking. He's not, you know, saying, screw this technique, I'm going to go play street ball. He's sticking to it and, you know, threw out a pretty solid performance in that second half. So a lot to like for the Chiefs, and we'll see what he does in the upcoming weeks.